Commander Vexali stared at the display screen with confusion. Her ship, the Harmony's Edge, had been patrolling this quiet region of space for 3 months without seeing anything interesting. The border between the Galactic Consortium and the unknown regions was usually peaceful. Most days they only saw empty space and distant stars. But today was different. The sensors showed something massive moving through space about 2 light hours away. The computer said it was a ship, but the readings made no sense. What am I looking at? Vexali asked her science officer, Temra. Temra's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he studied his instruments. Commander, it appears to be a vessel of unknown origin. The size is remarkable, nearly 3 kilometers in length. 3 kilometers? Vexali's tail twitched with surprise. Even the largest consortium ships were barely half that size. What kind of technology are they using? That's the strange part, Commander. Their engines appear to be simple fusion drives, very basic, and their hull seems to be made mostly of metal composites, nothing we haven't seen from pre-warp civilizations. Vexali walked closer to the display. The ship looked crude compared to consortium vessels. Where their ships were smooth and elegant, this one was blocky and covered with what looked like weapons. Lots of weapons. Run a full sensor sweep, she ordered. I want to know everything about that ship. As the sensors worked, more strange readings came back. The ship was definitely using primitive technology, but something about it felt wrong. The energy signatures were unlike anything in their databases. Commander, called her communications officer. Should we attempt first contact? Vexali thought carefully. First contact with new species was always delicate. The consortium had strict rules about approaching primitive civilizations. But this ship was already in space, traveling between stars. They clearly had some advanced technology. Yes, but be careful. Use the standard first contact protocols. Let them know we come in peace. The communications officer sent out the standard message in multiple frequencies. It was a simple mathematical sequence followed by basic symbols showing friendship and peaceful intentions. They waited. Minutes passed with no response. Then, suddenly, the unknown ship changed course. It turned toward them and began to accelerate. Commander, they're heading straight for us, reported the pilot. Are they responding to our message? No signals detected, Commander. But their weapon systems are... Commander, I've never seen anything like this. They have hundreds of weapon ports and some kind of launching system for projectiles. Vexali felt a chill run through her body. Most space battles used energy weapons and defensive shields. Projectile weapons were primitive and useless against modern defenses. Distance to target? Closing fast. They'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. Try the message again. Use maximum power. The communications officer sent the peaceful message again. This time, they got a response. Captain Sarah Chen sat in the command chair of the UES Retribution, studying the alien vessel on her screens. After 40 years of fighting the AI rebellion on Earth and in the colonies, she had learned not to trust unknown contacts. What do we know about them? She asked her tactical officer. Unknown design, Captain. They're using some kind of energy field around their ship. Could be shields or a weapon system. They keep sending the same signal over and over. Chen had seen this before. During the AI war, the machines often tried to communicate before attacking. They would send peaceful signals while preparing to strike. Could be a trap. How many ships? Just one that we can detect, Captain. But their technology is advanced. That energy field around their ship is unlike anything we've seen. Chen made her decision. The Retribution had left Earth 6 months ago to scout new systems for human colonies. They had been looking for empty worlds, not alien civilizations. But if these aliens were hostile, Earth needed to know. Battle stations. Prepare for defensive maneuvers. Captain, they're still sending what looks like a peaceful message. So, did the AIs, right up until they started shooting. Chen had lost too many friends to trust unknown signals. The Retribution was built for war. Every system on the ship was designed to fight and survive. If these aliens wanted a fight, they would get one. Back on the Harmony's Edge, Vexali watched, with growing concern as the human ship's formation changed. Commander, they're taking what appears to be an attack formation. Multiple weapon systems are powering up. But we sent the peace signal. Why aren't they responding properly? Unknown, Commander. Perhaps they don't understand our language. Vex Ali had to make a choice. The alien ship was clearly hostile, or at least acting hostile. Consortium law was clear about defending themselves from attack. Raise shields, prepare defensive weapons, but do not fire unless they fire first. The two ships continued to close on each other. The Harmony's Edge activated its particle shields and powered up its plasma cannons. These were standard Consortium weapons that could disable most ships without destroying them. The human ship, meanwhile, was preparing its own weapons. But these weapons were different from anything the Consortium had ever seen. Commander, they're launching something, the tactical officer reported. On the display, small objects shot out from the human ship. They moved incredibly fast, faster than most missiles. Defensive fire, Vexali ordered. The Harmony's Edge fired, its plasma cannons trying to destroy the incoming projectiles. But the objects were too small and too fast. Most of the plasma bursts missed. Then the projectiles reached the Consortium ship. Vex Ali expected them to explode against the shields, or maybe cause minor damage to the outer hull. Instead, something impossible happened. The projectiles went straight through the shields as if they weren't there. They hit the ship's armor with tremendous force, punching holes clean through several decks. Shields are down. No, wait, shields are still active, but they didn't stop those weapons. How is that possible? Vex Ali stared at the damage reports. Their particle shields should stop any physical projectile. But these simple chunks of metal had gone through them like they were nothing. Commander, they're firing again. More projectiles raced toward them. This time, Vex Ali was ready. Evasive maneuvers. Return fire with everything we have. The Harmony's Edge twisted and turned, trying to avoid the incoming weapons. Its plasma cannons fired at the human ship. Brilliant beams of energy crossing the space between them. The human ship also had shields, but they were different. Instead of energy barriers, they seemed to use layers of thick armor. The plasma beams hit the armor and burned into it, but didn't penetrate very far. More human projectiles hit the Consortium ship. These were larger than the first ones, and they did much more damage. One punched through the main reactor chamber, forcing an emergency shutdown. We need to retreat, Temra called out as alarms rang throughout the ship. Vexali knew he was right. Their weapons barely scratched the human ship, while the human weapons tore through their defenses like paper. Set course for the nearest Consortium base, maximum speed. As they turned to run, the human ship fired one more time. A massive projectile, larger than any of the others, streaked past them. It missed on purpose, Vexali realized. A warning. Shot. The message was clear. They could have destroyed the Harmony's Edge, but chose not to. As they fled through hyperspace, Vexali stared at the sensor records of the battle. Everything she knew about space combat had just been proven wrong. These humans use weapons that physics said shouldn't work against shields. But they did work, and they worked perfectly. Get me a channel to Consortium Command, she ordered. Priority Alpha. When the communication link opened, she took a deep breath. This is Commander Vexali of the Harmony's Edge. We have made contact with an unknown species. They are extremely hostile and possess weapons technology that can defeat our standard defenses. I am transmitting all sensor data now. She paused, thinking about how to explain what seemed impossible. Command. These beings use primitive kinetic weapons, but somehow they penetrate our particle shields completely. I recommend immediate mobilization of a full battle fleet. As the message sent, Vexali wondered if they had just started a war with beings they didn't understand at all. Admiral Kethmore read the report from Commander Vexali for the third time. Each reading made him more confused and more angry. Kinetic weapons that penetrate particle shields? He looked at his science advisor, a tall Vexnari with silver skin. Explain to me how this is possible. Dr. Zilnat consulted his datapad. According to our physics, it should not be possible, Admiral. Particle shields create a barrier that stops all physical matter. Energy weapons can sometimes break through with enough power, but simple metal projectiles should be completely stopped. Yet Commander Vexali's ship was badly damaged by exactly these weapons. The sensor data is clear. These humans somehow fire projectiles that ignore our defensive systems. Kethmore stood up and walked to the large display showing Consortium, space, 12 star systems, hundreds of colonies, and billions of people, all protected by the same shield technology that had failed against one primitive human ship. How many ships are we sending? 12 vessels, Admiral. The finest ships in the fleet. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a planet. And you think that will be enough against these humans? Dr. Zilnat's confidence never wavered. Admiral, we are facing a single ship from a species that has not even achieved faster-than-light communication. They may have one effective weapon, but they lack our advanced technology in every other area. Kethmore was not so sure, but he had his orders from the High Council. Find these humans and eliminate the threat they represented. What do we know about their ship's course? They fled toward the outer rim after the encounter. Long-range sensors tracked them through 3-star systems before losing contact. Fled or led us away from something? The question hung in the air. Dr. Zilnat had no answer. Meanwhile, Captain Sarah Chen was not running away. She was following a plan that had been prepared years before the Retribution ever left Earth. Status report, she called as her ship dropped, out of faster-than-light travel. We are now in the Kepler 442 system, Captain. All systems operating normally. Any sign of pursuit? Long-range sensors show multiple contacts following our trail. At least 12 ships, probably more. Chen smiled. Everything was going according to plan. Signal the fleet. Tell them we have company coming. In the asteroid belt of the Kepler 442 system, 17 human warships received the message. They had been waiting here for 2 weeks, hidden among the rocks and ice. Their engines were cold, their weapons powered down, making them nearly invisible to most sensors. The UES Indomitable was the largest ship in the fleet. At 5 kilometers long, it was a mobile fortress designed to support extended military operations, far from Earth. Captain Marcus Webb commanded not just the ship, but the entire human battle group. Retribution is in position, his communications officer reported. Enemy fleet estimated 12 hours behind them. Understood. Signal all ships. Begin final preparations. Across the fleet, thousands of crew members prepared for battle. These were not fresh recruits or peacetime soldiers. Every person on every ship was a veteran of the AI war. They had fought against machines that were smarter, faster, and more advanced than any alien could be. The AI war had taught humanity hard lessons about combat in space. Energy weapons could be predicted and countered. Shields could be overwhelmed or bypassed. But simple physics was impossible to argue with. A chunk of metal moving at a significant fraction of light speed would destroy anything it hit. Human ships were built around this philosophy. Their hulls were thick and layered, designed to absorb tremendous impacts. Their weapons were kinetic cannons that fired projectiles accelerated by magnetic fields, and their tactics assumed they would always be outnumbered. Admiral Kethmore's fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. His sensors immediately found the human ship orbiting the 4th planet. Just sitting there, his tactical officer reported. No attempt to flee. Scan the system. I want to know everything. The sensors swept through space, mapping planets and asteroids. Everything looked normal for an uninhabited star system. Admiral, the human ship is moving. They're heading toward the asteroid belt. Pursue them. We'll end this quickly. The 12 consortium ships accelerated toward their target. They were confident in their superior numbers and technology. Each ship was twice the size of the human vessel and carried weapons that could shatter moons. As they closed in, Admiral Kethmore felt satisfaction. Soon this threat to consortium security would be eliminated. But Captain Chen was not afraid. She guided the Retribution deeper into the asteroid field, following a path she had memorized weeks ago. Now, she whispered. Throughout the asteroid belt, human ships came to life. Cold engines ignited with invisible flames. Weapon systems powered up, and 17 warships revealed themselves to the shocked consortium fleet. Admiral, we have multiple new contacts. The sensor officer screamed. 17 ships, all of human design. Admiral Kethmore stared at his display in shock. The asteroid seemed to be giving birth to warships. Where had they been hiding? How did we not detect them? Their ships appeared to be coated with materials that absorb sensor beams, Admiral, and they were running completely silent. The largest, human ship was massive, bigger than anything in the consortium fleet. It moved with surprising speed for its size, positioning itself between the consortium ships and their escape route. "We're outnumbered," Dr. Zilnat said quietly. "Impossible, these humans are primitives. How could they have such a large fleet?" But the evidence was right in front of them. 18 human ships now surrounded the 12 consortium vessels, and more contacts were appearing on sensors as smaller ships launched from the big ones. "Admiral, incoming message from the largest human ship. Put it through." A human face appeared on the screen. The man looked older than Captain Chen, with gray hair and cold eyes that had seen too much war. "I am Captain Webb of the UES Indomitable. You have pursued one of our ships into our territory. Withdraw now or face the consequences." Admiral Kethmore drew himself up to his full height. "I am Admiral Kethmore of the Galactic Consortium. You will surrender immediately and submit to questioning about your weapons technology." Captain Webb's expression did not change. "You fired on our ship without provocation. You pursued us across 3 star systems, and now you demand our surrender. The answer is no. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Our ships carry weapons that can destroy planets. So do ours. The difference is we actually use them." The communication ended. Admiral Kethmore turned to his weapons officer. "Target the largest ship. All vessels open fire." 12 consortium ships fired at once. Brilliant beams of plasma energy crossed space toward the human fleet. The weapons were powerful enough to vaporize mountains, but the human ships did not try to avoid them. Instead, they turned to face the incoming fire directly, presenting their thickest armor to the attack. The plasma beams hit and burned into the human hulls, but did not penetrate. The armor was incredibly thick, layered with materials designed to absorb and disperse energy. Then the humans fired back. The first thing Admiral Kethmore noticed was how quiet human weapons were. No bright flashes or energy beams, just small objects launched at incredible speed. The second thing he noticed was that his ship's shields provided no protection at all. Kinetic projectiles slammed into the consortium vessels with devastating effect. Unlike energy weapons, which could be absorbed or deflected, these simple chunks of metal carried so much momentum that nothing could stop them. The Admiral's flagship shuddered as projectiles punched through its hull. Atmosphere vented into space, through dozens of holes. "Shields are ineffective," the tactical officer reported. "Their weapons are penetrating everything. Return fire, all weapons." But the consortium ships were designed for a different kind of war. Their weapons needed time to recharge between shots. Their shields were their primary defense. When both failed against human tactics, they had no backup plan. The humans, however, had been fighting a war against superior technology for 40 years. Every system on their ships had backups. Every weapon could fire continuously, and every crew member knew how to fight when everything else failed. "Admiral, we're taking heavy damage. 3 ships have lost main power." Admiral Kethmore watched his perfect fleet being torn apart by weapons that should not have worked. But they did work, and they worked better than anything he had ever seen. "All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance." The consortium fleet pulled back, damaged and confused. Several ships were leaking atmosphere and debris. None of the human ships showed significant damage. "Get me a communication channel to the human commander." Captain Webb's face appeared again on the screen. "Are you ready to discuss terms?" Webb asked calmly. "What do you want?" "First, you will stop following our ships. Second, you will return to your own territory and inform your leaders that humans are not to be attacked. Third, you will provide us with maps of local space and information about other civilizations. And if we refuse," Webb gestured to the damaged consortium ships around them, "then we will disable your vessels and take what we need from your computers. Your choice, Admiral." Admiral Kethmore realized he had no choice at all. His mighty fleet had been defeated by beings he had thought were primitives. I need to contact my superiors. You have 1 hour. As the communication ended, Admiral Kethmore sat heavily in his. Admiral Kethmore's report to the Consortium High Council created panic across 12 star systems. The impossible had happened. Their most advanced battle fleet had been defeated by primitive aliens using weapons that should not work. The High Council met in emergency session on the capital world of Altair Prime. Representatives from every major species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall, all talking at once about the human threat. Order! Order! High Counselor Ythlara struck her staff against the crystal floor. The sound echoed through the chamber until silence fell. We have all read Admiral Kethmore's report. These humans possess weapons that can defeat our particle shield technology, but they are still primitives. They cannot have more than a few dozen ships at most. Counselor Hektar of the militaristic Drakmori stood up. His scaled skin reflected the chamber's lights as he spoke. High Counselor, with respect, Admiral Kethmore faced 18 ships. If these are scouts, how many more might there be, Rig? Intelligence estimates suggest no more than 50 ships total. These humans only recently achieved interstellar travel, but even as the Council debated, new reports were arriving that would shatter their assumptions. Deep space monitoring stations throughout Consortium territory had been tracking unusual hyperspace signatures. Ships were moving through the outer regions, ships that did not match any known designs. Commander Vex Ali, now promoted and assigned to the Alien Contact Division, studied these reports with growing alarm. The hyperspace signatures were definitely human, but there were far more than 50 ships. Computer, display all detected human vessels in the last week. The holographic display filled with red dots, each representing a human ship. Vex Ali counted them twice, unable to believe the number. 237 contacts. She whispered. Where did they all come from? The truth was more frightening than anyone imagined. Earth had not sent out a few exploration ships. They had launched the largest military expedition in human history. For 40 years, humanity had fought the AI rebellion. During those 4 decades, they had learned to build weapons and ships faster than anyone thought possible. When the rebellion finally ended, Earth had the industrial capacity to outfit 1,000 warships. Fleet Admiral Jiang Wei commanded the human expeditionary force from his flagship, the UES Terra Nova. The massive ship was 8 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to level continents, but it was only the largest of 200 ships now entering Consortium space. Admiral, we've received Captain Webb's report from the Kepler 442 engagement. Summarize. Local alien forces use energy-based weapons and particle shield defenses. Our kinetic weapons proved completely effective against their technology. 12 enemy ships disabled or destroyed with minimal losses to our forces. Admiral Jiang nodded. This matched their expectations. The AI rebellion had forced humanity to develop weapons that could defeat any defense, even ones they had never seen before. What about their numbers and capabilities? Each alien ship appears to be roughly equivalent to one of our heavy cruisers in firepower, but their tactics are poor. They rely too heavily on their shield technology and do not adapt quickly to new threats. Understood. Signal all battle groups. We proceed as planned. The plan was simple. Secure a buffer zone around human-controlled space and establish diplomatic contact with local civilizations. If any species proved hostile, they would be neutralized quickly and completely. Back on Altair Prime, the Consortium was finally beginning to understand the scope of the threat they faced. High Counselor, reported the intelligence chief, we now have confirmation of human fleets in 17 different star systems. Conservative estimates put their total force at over 200 warships. The assembly hall fell silent. 200 ships was larger than the entire Consortium Navy. How is this possible? Counselor Hektar demanded. Our surveys showed their home system has only one inhabited planet. That appears to be incorrect, sir. Intelligence suggests they have multiple worlds and a massive industrial base. These humans have been preparing for interstellar war for decades. High Counselor Ythlara felt a chill run through her body. The consortium had achieved peace through cooperation and advanced technology. They had not fought a real war in over a century. But these humans seemed to know nothing but war. What do we know about their military capabilities? The intelligence chief activated a holographic display showing human ship designs. The vessels looked crude and blocky compared to elegant consortium ships, but the weapons loadout was terrifying. Every human ship appears to be heavily armed. They carry multiple types of kinetic weapons, from small rapid-fire cannons to massive bombardment systems. They also use nuclear weapons and some kind of electromagnetic pulse devices. Nuclear weapons? Several counselors gasped. Nuclear technology was considered barbarically primitive by consortium standards. Yes, counselors. But their nuclear weapons are far more advanced than we expected. Some appear to be capable of destroying our largest ships with a single hit. The display showed more details about human technology. Their ships had thick armor instead of energy shields. Their weapons were simple but incredibly effective. And their tactics seemed designed for fighting outnumbered against superior technology. They fight like they expect to be outnumbered, Counselor Hector observed. Every ship is designed to operate independently. Every weapon system has multiple backups. This suggests a military culture that has survived against overwhelming odds. What are you saying? I'm saying these humans are not primitives who got lucky. They are a warrior species that has perfected the art of war. And we may have just given them a reason to use that knowledge against us. While the consortium debated, human forces were implementing their plan with military precision. The first phase involved securing key systems along the consortium border. Human ships moved into uninhabited systems and established bases almost overnight. They brought everything needed for long-term operations: supply ships, construction equipment, and defensive platforms. The second phase involved gathering intelligence. Small human ships designed to be invisible to most sensors infiltrated consortium space. They observed alien colonies, mapped military installations, and identified key targets. The third phase was psychological warfare. Every major consortium world suddenly found human ships at the edge of their sensor range. The ships did nothing threatening, but their presence was impossible to ignore. They just sat there watching. Commander Vexali was on the bridge of a consortium patrol ship when they detected their first human observer. Contact bearing 047, distance 2 light minutes, her sensor officer reported. Identification? Human design, unknown class. It's just sitting there. Vexali studied the sensor reading. The human ship was clearly visible on their screens, making no attempt to hide. It was smaller than the warships they had encountered before, but something about it felt menacing. Are they scanning us? Unknown, Commander. Their sensor technology is different from ours. We cannot detect their scanning beams. Hail them. No response, Commander. The human ship continued to watch them for 6 hours, then simply vanished into hyperspace. It left behind no trace except the unsettling knowledge that humanity was observing everything the consortium did. Similar encounters happened throughout consortium space. Human ships appeared near military bases, trade routes, and colony worlds. They never attacked or even communicated. They just watched and then disappeared. The psychological effect was devastating. Consortium citizens began to panic. Trade routes became dangerous as merchant ships refused to travel without military escort. Colony worlds demanded protection from the mysterious human observers. But the most frightening discovery came from the consortium's best scientists. Dr. Zilnat had been studying the sensor records from every human encounter. He worked day and night trying to understand how human technology worked. What he found changed everything. High Counselor, he reported to an emergency session of the Council. I have completed my analysis of human weapons technology. Tell us how to defend against it. That's the problem, High Counselor. There may be no defense. The assembly hall erupted in worried voices. Dr. Zilnat waited for quiet before continuing. Human kinetic weapons work by accelerating projectiles to extremely high speeds using magnetic fields. The projectiles are simple metal, usually depleted uranium or tungsten. but they carry so much kinetic energy that no known material can stop them. What about our particle shields? Particle shields work by deflecting charged particles and energy beams. But these projectiles are electrically neutral and moving too fast for the shields to affect them. It's like trying to stop a mountain with a soap bubble. Then how do we fight them? Dr. Zilnat looked around the chamber with frightened eyes. I don't think we can. Our entire military philosophy is based on energy weapons and defensive shields. The humans have developed weapons specifically designed to defeat those defenses. They've had 40 years to perfect this technology while fighting an enemy that was more advanced than we are. Are you saying we cannot win a war against these humans? High Counselor, I'm saying we've already lost it, we just don't know it yet. As if to prove his point, new reports arrived that moment. Long range. The emergency council meeting on Altair Prime had been going for 12 hours without a break. Representatives from every species in the consortium argued about how to respond to the human threat. We must negotiate, insisted Councillor Yeldan, of the peaceful Altarians. These humans have shown they can defeat our ships, but they haven't attacked our colonies. Perhaps they want something we can give them. They want us to surrender without fighting, growled Councillor Hektar. That's what predators do. They show strength to make prey submit. High Counselor Ithlara watched the debate with growing frustration. Every hour they spent talking was another hour for human forces to move closer to consortium worlds. What about our allies, she asked. Can the Vexnari provide additional ships? Councillor Techmore, the Vexnari representative, stood with confidence. The Vexnari Empire has been building warships for 3 centuries. We have technologies these primitive humans cannot imagine. Give us time to mobilize and we will show them what real power looks like. How much time? 6 months to bring our full fleet to bear. These humans may have surprised a patrol fleet, but they have never faced the might of a true galactic empire. While the consortium debated, Commander Vexali was trying to understand the humans through their own actions. She had been assigned to study every human contact, looking for patterns that might reveal their true intentions. What she found was both puzzling and frightening. The humans seemed to know exactly where every consortium military base was located. They knew which worlds had large populations and which were just mining colonies. They knew the locations of shipyards, communication hubs, and supply depots. How do they know so much about us? She wondered aloud. Her assistant, a young Altarian named Silvera, looked up from her data screens. Commander, what if they've been watching us for longer than we thought? What do you mean? These humans claim to be explorers from a distant system, but their knowledge of our territory is too complete for recent scouts. What if they've been observing us for years? The possibility chilled Vex Ali. If humans had been secretly studying the consortium for years, they would know every weakness, every vulnerability. Pull up all records of unexplained sensor contacts in the last 5 years. As the computer searched, dozens of files appeared on screen. Strange readings that had been dismissed as sensor ghosts or natural phenomena. But when viewed together, they formed a pattern of systematic observation. They've been spying on us, Vexali whispered. For years. She immediately sent her findings to the High Council, but the message arrived too late to change anything. The Vexnari had already made their move. Admiral Zakron commanded the Vexnari 3rd Battle Fleet, the most powerful military force in their empire. His flagship, the Eternal Glory, was a kilometer-long fortress bristling with the most advanced weapons Vexnari science could create. These humans think they can intimidate us with their crude projectile weapons, he told his officers. They are about to learn the difference between primitive kinetics and true military power. The Vexnari fleet consisted of 30 ships, each one a masterpiece of technology. They had been designed to fight other advanced civilizations, not primitive species with metal bullets. Admiral, long-range sensors detect human ships near the Kepler 442 system. How many? 18 vessels, sir. The same force that defeated the consortium patrol fleet. Admiral Zakron smiled with confidence. Then we will destroy them and end this threat before it spreads. Set course for Kepler 442, maximum speed. But as the Vexnari fleet traveled toward what they thought would be an easy victory, They were walking into the most carefully prepared trap in human military history. Fleet Admiral Zhang Wei had been expecting this response. The psychological profile of the Vexnari, compiled from years of secret observation, indicated they would respond to the human threat with overwhelming force. Admiral, Vexnari fleet detected entering hyperspace. Estimated arrival in 14 hours. Confirmed. 30 ships, including their newest heavy battlecruisers. They're bringing their best. Should we withdraw the bait force? Admiral Zhang studied the tactical display. Captain Webb's ships were still in the Kepler 442 system, apparently unaware of the approaching threat. No. Captain Webb knows the plan. Let them come. The plan was simple but devastating. The humans would let the Vexnari attack what appeared to be a small, isolated human fleet. But hidden throughout the system were over 100 human warships, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. When the Vexnari fleet dropped out of hyperspace in the Kepler 442 system, they saw exactly what they expected. 18 human ships scattered among the asteroids. Target the largest vessel, Admiral Zakron ordered. We'll destroy their command ship first, then hunt down the rest. The Vexnari ships spread out in perfect attack formation, their weapons charged with deadly energy, far more powerful than the plasma cannons the consortium used. Captain Webb watched them approach on his screens. These ships were more dangerous than the consortium vessels, but the tactics would be the same. All ships, prepare for Pattern 7, he transmitted. Pattern 7 was a defensive formation designed to absorb an enemy's first attack while maximizing return fire. The human ships moved into position, presenting their thickest armor to the enemy. Human vessels, this is Admiral Zakron of the Vexnari Empire. You will surrender immediately, or be destroyed. Captain Webb's response was brief. No. The Vexnari opened fire with everything they had, beams of pure energy, more powerful than anything the humans had faced before, lanced across space toward the human fleet. The energy weapons struck human armor with tremendous force. Several ships were badly damaged, their outer hulls burned and cracked. But they did not break. Human ships had been designed to survive hits from AI weapons that made Vexnari guns look like toys. The armor held and the ships continued to fight. Then the humans fired back. Admiral Zakron watched in disbelief as his shields, the most advanced in the galaxy, provided no protection at all against human kinetic weapons. Impossible. Our shields can stop anything. Sir, their projectiles are moving at 40% of light speed. The impact energy is beyond our shield capacity. The first Vexnari ship to be hit simply exploded. The kinetic energy released by the human projectiles was equivalent to a nuclear weapon. All ships, evasive maneuvers, maximum firepower. But the Vexnari had made the same mistake as the consortium. They expected to fight an energy weapon duel, not deal with simple physics traveling at relativistic speeds. More human projectiles found their marks. Vexnari ships, marvels of engineering, were torn apart by chunks of metal moving too fast to avoid. Then the trap sprang. Admiral, new contacts. Multiple human ships decloaking throughout the system. Admiral Zakron's confident expression changed to horror as over 100 human warships revealed themselves. They had been hidden behind asteroids, their engines cold, waiting for this moment. The Vexnari fleet found themselves surrounded by the largest concentration of firepower they had ever seen. This is Fleet Admiral Zhang Wei of the United Earth Forces, came a transmission from the largest human ship. Your fleet has attacked human vessels without provocation. Surrender now or be destroyed. We will never surrender to primitives, Admiral Zakron screamed. Then you will die. The battle that followed was not really a battle at all. It was a demonstration. Over 100 human ships focused their fire on 30 Vexnari vessels. The aliens fought bravely, but their weapons could barely scratch human armor while human weapons destroyed them with single hits. In 20 minutes, the most powerful fleet in Vexnari history was reduced to wreckage and escape pods. Admiral Zakron found himself a prisoner aboard the human flagship standing before Fleet Admiral Zhang Wei. Your empire sent you to destroy us, Zhang said calmly. Instead, you've given us a perfect example of what happens to those who threaten humanity. You cannot defeat the entire Vexnari Empire. We have thousands of ships. Had thousands of ships. We've been tracking your fleet movements for 3 years. Right now, human forces are moving toward your 17 most important military bases. By tomorrow, the Vexnari Empire will no longer have a functional navy. Admiral Zakron stared at the human commander with growing understanding. This had never been about exploration or first contact. You planned this. All of it. We planned, for every possibility. 40 years of war taught us that the best defense is to eliminate threats before they can organize. Your empire chose to be a threat. What do you want? Complete surrender of all Vexnari military forces, evacuation of your colonies in the border regions, and a promise that you will never again attack human ships or colonies. And if we refuse, Zhang gestured to the display showing the destroyed Vexnari fleet. Then we will do to every Vexnari world what we just did to your fleet. The choice is yours. As Admiral Zakron was taken away to a holding cell, he realized the terrible truth. The humans had not just defeated one fleet. They had planned the complete destruction of the Vexnari Empire from the very beginning. And across the galaxy, other species were beginning to understand that they faced an enemy unlike anything they had ever imagined. The humans did not just fight to win battles. They fought to end wars permanently. News of the Vexnari defeat spread through consortium space like wildfire. The most Fleet Admiral Zhang Wei stood on the bridge of the UES Terra Nova as it approached Altair Prime, capital of the Galactic Consortium. Around his flagship, 50 human warships moved in perfect formation, their weapons ready but not yet targeting the planet below. Admiral, we're receiving multiple surrender requests from consortium ships in the system, his communications officer reported. Accept them all. Direct surrendering vessels to hold position at minimum safe distance. Zhang studied the display showing Altair Prime and its orbital defenses. The planet had dozens of defense satellites and 3 large space stations, but none of them were activating their weapons. Sir, incoming priority transmission from the planet's surface. Put it through. High Counselor Withlara appeared on the main screen. The elegant alien leader looked tired and defeated, her usual confidence completely gone. Fleet Admiral Zhang Wei, I am High Counselor Yithlara of the Galactic Consortium. I wish to discuss terms for ending this conflict. High Counselor, you may discuss terms for your surrender. This conflict will end when all threats to human security have been eliminated. What exactly do you want from us? Zhang had prepared. For this moment, the answer he gave would determine the future of every species in this region of space. Complete disarmament of all consortium military forces. Withdrawal from the border regions near human space. Technology sharing agreements that will allow us to monitor your weapons development. And most importantly, a guarantee that no consortium world will ever again attack human ships or colonies. And if we agree to these terms, then you will be allowed to continue governing your internal affairs without interference. Human forces will withdraw from consortium space once compliance is verified. High Counselor Yithalara looked surprised. She had expected the humans to demand total control, not just security guarantees. You don't want to rule us? We want to be left alone to develop our colonies in peace. If you can guarantee our security, we have no interest in your internal politics. This was the crucial difference between humans and the other species they had encountered. The humans were not conquerors, seeking glory or resources. They were survivors who wanted to ensure they would never again face extinction. I need time to consult with the other council members. You have 6 hours. After that, we will assume you have chosen to resist, and we will act accordingly. The transmission ended, leaving High Counselor Yithalara alone with the most important decision in consortium history. While she prepared to address the emergency council session, other events were unfolding throughout human-controlled space that would shape the galaxy's future. Commander Vex Ali had requested a meeting with Captain Webb aboard the UES Indomitable. As one of the few consortium officers who had actually fought against human forces, her opinions carried significant weight with both sides. Captain Webb, I need to understand something, she said, as they walked through the human ship's corridors. Your weapons technology could have destroyed our ships completely. Why did you show restraint? Captain Webb considered his answer carefully. Commander, 40 years ago, humanity faced a choice: become monsters to survive, or find another way. We chose to survive without losing what makes us human. But you destroyed the Vexnari fleet completely. The Vexnari chose to fight to the death rather than surrender. We gave them the same choice we're giving the consortium now. They entered a large room filled with busy human crew members working at computer stations. Vexali was surprised to see that many of them were quite young. Your crew seems very experienced for such young people. Most of them started fighting when they were teenagers. The AI war lasted 40 years, Commander. We had children operating weapons systems because we didn't have enough adults left. The casual way he said it made the statement even more chilling. Vexali began to understand why humans fought so differently from other species. Your entire civilization has been at war for 2 generations. 3 generations, actually, and we won that war by learning to think like our enemies while staying true to ourselves. What does that mean? Captain Webb led her to an observation deck overlooking the ship's main hangar. Hundreds of small fighter craft were being prepared for launch. It means we studied every possible threat and prepared for all of them. We assumed we would always be outnumbered, outgunned, and facing enemies with better technology. So we developed tactics and weapons that would work under those conditions. But the war is over. Why continue preparing for conflict? Because the universe is a dangerous place, Commander. The AI rebellion taught us that survival depends on being ready for threats you haven't imagined yet. As they spoke, news arrived that would test that philosophy. Deep space sensors had detected something approaching from the galactic rim. Ships using technology completely unlike anything human or consortium forces had ever seen. On Altair Prime, the emergency council session had been in progress for 5 hours. Representatives from every species debated humanity's terms, while human warships waited in orbit above them. These humans are offering us survival, argued Counselor Yeldan. Yes, we must give up our military independence, but we keep our worlds and our freedom to govern ourselves. And what happens when they decide we're a threat again? Demanded Counselor Hector. We'll have no way to defend ourselves. We have no way to defend ourselves now, replied Dr. Zilnat quietly. At least this way we survive. High Counselor Withlara listened to the debate while considering information that none of the other counselors had seen yet. Her private intelligence sources had confirmed what Commander Vexali suspected. Humans had been observing the consortium for at least 5 years before making contact. They knew about every military base, every shipyard, every strategic resource. But more importantly, they had also identified every potential threat to consortium civilians. During their secret observations, human scouts had discovered 17 different species or organizations planning attacks on consortium worlds: pirates, slavers, and aggressive empires that saw the peaceful consortium as easy prey. The humans had quietly eliminated 12 of these threats before revealing themselves, not through massive military action, but through precise strikes that left no evidence of human involvement. They had been protecting the consortium while preparing to conquer it. High Counselor, her aide whispered, we're receiving reports of unknown ships approaching from the outer rim. The humans are requesting an immediate meeting. The timing could not be coincidental. Counselors, Ithlara announced. I am calling for an immediate vote on the human terms. All in favor? The vote was close, but survival won over pride. The Galactic Consortium formally surrendered to humanity. 2 hours later, High Counselor Ithlara found herself aboard the human flagship, meeting with Fleet Admiral Zhang Wei in person. High Counselor, thank you for making the wise choice. Your people will not regret this decision. Admiral, what are those ships approaching from the rim? Zhang's expression became grim. That's why we needed this meeting. Our long-range sensors have identified them as devourers. I've never heard of that species. Neither had we until 3 months ago. They're a nomadic civilization that consumes the resources of entire star systems. They've destroyed at least 40 inhabited worlds in the past century. Ithlara felt cold fear run through her body. And they're coming here? Their scout ships have been probing the edge of local space for months. Our analysts believe they're preparing for a major invasion of this entire region. How do you know so much about them? Zhang activated a holographic display showing distant star systems. Because we've been fighting them. The display showed the remains of dozens of worlds, their surfaces stripped bare of all useful materials. And moving among the wreckage were massive ships unlike anything in consortium or human databases. Admiral, are you saying humanity has been at war with these devourers? We've been conducting a fighting withdrawal for 6 months. Every human colony beyond the frontier has been evacuated or destroyed to deny them resources. We've been leading them here. Here? You brought them to our space. High Counselor, the devourers will consume everything in their path regardless of what we do. But together, our combined forces might be able to stop them. Ythlara stared at the display in shock. Humanity had not just been preparing for war with the consortium. They had been preparing for war with something much worse. This is why you needed our surrender. You need our industrial capacity to build weapons. We need your help to save both our civilizations. The devourers don't negotiate. They don't take prisoners. They consume entire worlds and move on. If summoned by their conversation, alerts began sounding throughout the ship. Admiral, long-range sensors detect devourer scout ships entering the outer system. Estimated time to main fleet arrival: 72 hours. Zhang turned to address both his crew and the consortium leader. General quarters. Signal all human and consortium vessels to prepare for combat operations. And get me a direct line to every world in local space. Admiral, what are you doing? High Counselor, I'm about to show the galaxy why humanity spent 40 years learning to fight against impossible odds. The ship's communication system activated, broadcasting on every frequency used by the known civilizations. This is Fleet Admiral Zhang Wei of the United Earth Forces. An enemy